like all of these celebrities who are getting up defending a whole ass redophile might need a pardon in the future. We all know that Nicki Minaj is married to a whole ass rapist, but it somehow gets even worse than that. Yeah, they harassed the shit out of that girl, Nicki included. The thing about Nicki, though, is that she's very comfortable defending pedophiles. She 100% defends her brother, who was accused of SA by someone younger than 13, which yet would make them a whole ass child, Nicki. Wow. These people have been showing you who they are for such a long time. Start believing them and mind your idols. Refollow my page. You probably think you're following me and you're not because they hate me on here. And I take that as a compliment.
Hi lovelies and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome to Building the Verse. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
Thank you, Nicki Minaj, for standing up for Christians in Nigeria. Check out this video.
I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage and calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief.
So I know what you may be thinking, like, this is Nicki Minaj, you know, she's not necessarily a follower of Jesus Christ. Her music is not holy music, right? Pray for her, though. Maybe something is happening where she's being led to Christ. I don't really know. I'm not in her life. But what I do know is that she has a huge following. And for her to just stand up there at that conference or whatever that was, to stand for Christian rights, is very important. And honestly, I think it's great because how many artists do you really stand up for Christians? Not too many, not too many. So I'm definitely happy that she did this. I'm definitely happy that her fans saw this and that this brought awareness and attention, because people really need to know what's going on, that Christians are literally being persecuted by a lot of Islamic extremists, by the way. But it's getting ignored. And now it's finally coming to the surface. It's been ignored for many, many years. And I am so glad that our president, that many people hate, not sure why, but is taking action. We didn't see any other presidents taking action and helping out and covering for Christians. So let me know your thoughts on this.
I'ma just say it because we all thinking it. I'ma say it because we all thinking it. Too many of y'all Negroes is okay with being a token black. Too many of y'all are okay with going into these spaces where you know that you are being used to further an agenda and standing up there and tap dancing. I'm sorry. And even in this short clip with Mike Waltz very much gave, thank you, massa. I'm so happy to be here.
Honored that you even thought that I would be worthy to be in this caliber of a place. Because, you know, I never thought I would go from rapping to being here, but I'm so happy and proud.
Worthy of being in this space, in this caliber of a space. Going from rapping to this. Baby, stand up. Okay? You are more worthy than most of the people in that room. And also, this is what happens when you send someone to go have a conversation about something that they are not well versed in. Getting up there to defend something that you have little to no knowledge about is a very dangerous game to play, especially for the actual people who are experiencing what is happening in Nigeria. I'm just trying to figure out what happened to PR teams. What happened to the teams that tell people what they should and should not engage in? We need to bring that back expeditiously because everybody is just doing everything.
The year is 2025. Nicki Minaj, an American rapper who raps about how deep her pussy is and how fat her ass is addressing the UN and pleading with Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, in advocacy for the Christians in Nigeria. The same Christians who swear that I'm going to hell for being a homosexual. Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, the most powerful country on the planet, who allegedly was blowing Bubba, and Bubba allegedly is a horse. Allegedly, yo. Meanwhile, what are Nigerians from Nigeria doing? Nigerians from Nigeria, most of who are apparently Christians, are gearing up to go back to Nigeria this December to shut down Lagos for this December because Nigeria know they carry laugh alone. Oh, and by the way, AI still take it over. I don't even know what's real or not anymore, Chad. What in the fucking Truman Show is this shit? This gotta be a very interesting timeline that we're in. Do you people see why I say that I'm waiting for this rapture? Because I wanna go home. I want to go home.
Nicki Minaj lost over 300 followers on Twitter because she spoke out for Nigerians, the crying of Christians that is going on in Nigeria, and she's supporting Trump. You guys, because of that, they go to unfollow her. Now, you know the crazy part. Go and see her comment section. Go and see her comment section where Nigerians are saying, she too do. Why should they support Donald Trump? What's it concern her? Is he her country? Can you go, something bad is happening in your own country. Our celebrities, our people, they decide not to talk. People that are not even part of our country, they no carry our green card. Nothing concern them. They talk, they bash them, they go, they unfollow. So it is good that they are crying Christians. Have you guys seen the one that just happened on Sunday in Kwara State, that they've kidnapped the pastor, kidnapped some church members, spied like 3 people? So it should continue. Hey, whether we like it or not, we are our own problem. And until we solve ourselves as the problem, Nigeria problem no fit solve. Because what do you mean? Hello, my G. I come in peace. God, like this country disgusting.
On November 1st of this year, the president announced the possibility of sending the U.S. military to Nigeria due to Christian scarism. He recently got our resident expert on Nigerian anti-Christian scarism, Nicki Minaj, to speak to the UN about the threat to her faith. And the whole thing is as polarizing as anything else from this administration. But all of this, no matter what side you sit on, hinges on one question. Is there actual anti-Christian scarism happening in Nigeria? Nigeria is a country with its own strengths and weaknesses, just like any other nation. The idea of anti-Christian scarism in that country, or happening there, comes from the ethnic disputes that do exist there. And please feel free to add any context in the comments that I might be missing. But from what I could read, there are about 3 major conflicts in Nigeria. There's the conflict in the northeast region between the Nigerian military and then 2 Islamic groups, Boko Haram and the Islamic State West African Province, or ISWAP. Again, those 2 groups practice Islam, though. Now, there are conflicts in the middle belt between the Fulani herders who mostly practice Islam and the mostly Christian farming communities of that region. But those are land and resource disputes, not exactly religious scarism. They even speak to similar conflicts in the northwest between armed bandit gangs and the civilians that live there. All of those conflicts, they do have the potential to spill into a church, in the same way that they could spill into a mosque, office, or even a grocery store. It's kind of funny because if we look back at the past year with the incidents in Michigan, Minnesota, and more, there's arguably more anti-Christian violence and scarism targeting places domestically coming from the alt-right than it seems that there is in Nigeria. The president has everything to gain from blaming the campfire across the street while our house is burning down. Also, Nigeria has a lot of oil. But what would Nicki Minaj have to gain? Well, our president has been handing out pardons like Halloween candy, and Nicki has a husband and a brother that need to keep a legal distance away from trick-or-treaters. Both cases extremely weird, and I'm not saying that that's exactly what's happening here, but I am saying that if I heard about it in the news, I would not be surprised.
I think Nicki Minaj can disappoint me more. She always finds a way to, right? I'm just incredibly surprised. First of all, I didn't even think it was going to happen, right? Like, I remember, like, a few years back where, like, her cousin got, like, the big balls from, like, COVID or something. She was going to, like, speak at the UN or speak to the president or something about that. That never happened. I don't remember that happening. And it turns out it did happen. And I've been seeing a lot of people talk about, oh, she looks so poised. She looks so nice. Okay, great. She's going on a public stage using her platform of millions of people to talk about misinformation. What are y'all not getting? So many people are like, oh my gosh, she's speaking out against injustice. She's saying that nobody should be in a bad situation. She went on that stage to talk about Nigerian Christians being persecuted. A situation that's not happening. It's actually incredibly easy to find out what's happening in Nigeria. A lot of y'all just don't care. A lot of y'all are not Nigerian. A lot of y'all do not have a vested interest in Nigeria, right? So you don't really care what's going on there, because if you knew what's happening, you would know what Nicki Minaj was doing was really wrong. And the whole situation with this administration, like, Nicki, I thought you were Miss Island Girl, Donald Trump when we go home. Now you're doing this. Okay. I think what also really grinds my gears is that, I'm sorry, not to bring in the whole Nicki Minaj versus Cardi B at all, but I'm going to do that, okay? All trashed Cardi B for months because she went on stage and endorsed Kamala Harris, right? Calling her illiterate, calling her all these things, right? And what I really hate is that Cardi B has been using her platform of millions and millions and millions of people to spread good messages. This is me talking about how I think Cardi B is perfect because maybe we all know that's far from the truth, okay? But in the last year, someone has went and endorsed somebody, talking about why it's incredibly important for us to endorse the president, why it's important for us to vote, talking about how black and brown women are at higher risk of, being unalived in childbirth. And the other person is going on the UN stage spewing out propaganda. Propaganda that is hurtful to black people in Africa. What? Are you serious right now? Are we serious? What the heck?
This message is for Miss Nicki Minaj, girlfriend.
Minaj barbs out here in my comments real quick, because the ignorance is loud and the homework is non-existent. Not only are they ill-informed, but outlets like Billboard are spreading false narratives. While you're defending Nicki like blind, ignorant rats, and not knowing what you're defending, the reality is she's parroting false claims pushed by the Felon 47 administration about Christian persecution in Nigeria. And you don't even know what she's talking about. So let me educate you. The claim that Felon 47 keeps repeating is that Christians in Nigeria are facing a government-backed genocide, that the Nigerian state is allowing mass killings, and that the US might need to intervene with guns blazing. Here's what's actually happening. Nigeria has violence, yes, but it's not religious genocide. Attackers target everyone. Muslims, Christians, entire villages, whole regions. A lot of it is tied to land conflict, criminal groups, and Boko Haram terrorism. But not some coordinated government plot to wipe out Christians. That's a lie. A political talking point to justify a US invasion. And experts, analysts, and Nigerian officials themselves have debunked it. And let's talk about the part no Barb seems to understand. What a US invasion actually means. If the US went into Nigeria based on this false narrative that Nicki is platforming and advocating for, the cost would be catastrophic. We're talking about destabilization in West Africa, civilian casualties, economic collapse, and a massive refugee crisis. All because a foreign government, the United States, acted on misinformation. Nigeria is one of the largest economies in that continent, with 200 plus million people. A US invasion wouldn't save Christians. It would tear the country apart, inflame extremist groups, and punish millions of innocent people. So when Nicki repeats this propaganda, like it's a slogan at the United Nations, she's endorsing something that could cause an international disaster. This is why what Nicki is doing is dangerous, because what she's platforming isn't just concern for Christians. She's amplifying a narrative built on misinformation, one that's been used to justify extreme rhetoric, foreign intervention, and even calls for military action. She's repeating a talking point she clearly didn't research. And here's the embarrassing part. If you're going to defend your fave, at least know what she's actually aligning herself to. Because right now, you're arguing with confidence with zero accuracy. This is about Nicki recycling propaganda she didn't check the facts. And if you're in my comments swinging blindly, you're proving my point for me. Do your homework. Learn what's actually happening in Nigeria. And maybe, just maybe, stop embarrassing yourself in the process. Class dismissed. Let me help the
Dear Tamika D. Mori, as the American civil rights and social injustice activist that you are, born in New York, and you have voiced out your voice on gun control, feminism, Black Lives Matter, and now your fellow Black life in Nigeria, they are killing them. You don't even voice out your voice. Either you do your in line, let's see it. Since you are the champion of Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter currently happening in Nigeria. They are doing genocide. But no, you don't say nothing. Nicki Minaj, which she has always voiced out her voice concerning Nigerians. Sometimes she will even blow English, pidgin English. She has always been there supporting Nigerians. So do you expect her now to be quiet? Because sometimes she will just go there, they tweet, they congratulate the videos. If they do this, you have your own platform, your people now, Black Lives Matter, they are killing genocide Christian. Maybe you Christian, you cannot even voice your voice out, but you criticize her. Why? Because you don't like Trump. According to your own post, for the record, Nicki Minaj may not realize it yet, but align with Donald Trump and his evil plan. So you proudly say someone is evil plan. You calling someone evil plan. That's on you because you don't like the person. It's only you who know who is evil, who is not evil. Has consequence. Has he turned his attention to Nigeria? There will be extortion, resources, theft, and innocent Nigeria will be harmed. Currently, the innocent Nigeria that are being harmed. Why? Because they go church. Why? Because they are Christian. Not to more. You don't say nothing about it. As an activist, Trump has a pattern. He used black culture for cover while pushing policy that hurt black people here and abroad. Trump has not pushed no black people and problem abroad. If you wanna come, you come in the legal way. Unfortunately, the sister will be tied to the harm, and history will be remember who stood beside him. Oh yeah, history will remember who stood up, who fights. Because your own, you just pick and choose. You don't even use your voice to activate, to voice out for the people. Black Lives Matter. I think the Black life will only matter in America because you have something to get in return. Now I see. Black life is only matter to your own people, the African Americans, aka the Black America. Besides that, no other Black life matter. It is well.
The conversation around Nicki Minaj and her recent comments supporting Donald Trump's contested claim that Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria is stirring up major reactions across the United States, Nigeria, and even within global Christian and political circles. And what makes this situation even more complicated is that it's coming from a celebrity whose influence extends far beyond music. When Nicki Minaj speaks, especially on political issues, millions of people listen, whether they agree with her or not. And right now, Americans have a lot to say about her stepping into this very sensitive conversation. First, it's worth addressing the core issue, the claim itself. Trump has repeatedly argued that Christians in Nigeria face religious persecution. For years, this claim has been debated, disputed, reframed, minimized, or exaggerated, depending on who is talking. Some people see it as a undeniable reality rooted in a violent attacks, kidnappings, and long-standing religious tensions in specific regions of Nigeria. Others argue that it's a political tool, an oversimplification of a complicated situation that involves ethnicity, land disputes, terrorism, governance failures, and corruptions. So when Nicki Minaj publicly aligns with this claim, she's not just making a comment, she's stepping directly into one of the most political sensitive and emotionally charged discussions in Africa politics. What Americans are reacting to the most is the fact that Nicki Minaj is now touching on global politics in a way that carries serious weight. Some people in the US feel she has no business involving herself in issues she may not fully understand. Others say she is brave for calling attention to problems mainstream media supposedly ignores. And then there is a third group, the largest one online, who simply can't believe Nicki Minaj is inserting herself into a conversation tied to Donald Trump, of all people, someone who has been politically polarizing for years. What is even more interesting is the cultural angle. Many Americans are confused about why Nicki Minaj, an American artist with Caribbean roots, would align herself with Trump's talking point about Nigeria. They see it as an unexpected crossover of pop culture and global politics, but fans, especially her die-hards, will support her no matter what she says, and that is creating a lot of friction online because the Minaj fandom tends to push back aggressively against criticism. So this situation has become a mixture of politics, celebrity loyalty, and serious real-world issues. Meanwhile, Nigerians watching this from their side of the world have their own reactions. Many Nigerians are frustrated not because the topic is being discussed, but because the nuisance is being lost. Nigeria is a diverse country with over 200 million people, and the situation varies from region to region. Some Nigerians argue that yes, Christians in certain northern areas have been targeted, especially by extremist groups. Others insist that the issue is not a simple Christian versus Muslim narrative, but a multi-layered crisis involving poverty, regional inequality, poor security, banditry, and the aftermath of long-standing conflicts. They feel that American politicians and celebrities oversimplify these matters for their own agendas, and this is where many Americans are stepping in with their opinions. Some Americans think Nicki is doing the right thing by shedding light on what they see as religious persecution. To them, she's using her platform responsibly by talking about issues outside the typical entertainment bubble. They see her supporting Trump's claim as an act of courage, especially since celebrities criticizing or disagreeing with liberal narrative often face backlash. But another portion of Americans feel Nicki Minaj is being manipulated or used as a political pawn. They argue that celebrities usually don't dive into African political issues unless there is a narrative attached to it. They point out that whenever Africa becomes a topic in American political debates, it's usually during election cycles or when politicians need talking points that spark religious or ideological emotion among voters. So they are questioning whether Nicki Minaj truly understands the depth of what she's aligning herself with. Another layer is to this discussion is how religious identity plays out in America. Many American Christians immediately sided with Nicki Minaj's statement, saying it reflects what they have been hearing for years about persecution around the world. They believe Christians globally are targets, and Nigeria is one of the places often cited in religious communities. So when Nicki Minaj agrees with Trump, she's indirectly speaking to a large group of American Christians who have believed this narrative for a long time, and that is why their reaction is so strong they feel validated. Meanwhile, critics in America argue that Nicki Minaj is spreading an incomplete or misleading narrative, especially when such statements can affect public perception of an entire country. They are saying that celebrities with massive influence should be careful not to amplify contested information, especially when it concerns international tension, religion, and security. And let's not ignore the fact that anything involving Nicki Minaj immediately becomes a cultural debate. Her fan base, the perhaps, often dominates online discussions. So now you have political commentators, African analysis, American conservative, American liberals, Nigerian citizens, the global Christian community, and Nicki Minaj fandom all clashing in one giant conversation. This isn't just a debate, it's a digital storm. Some Americans are also questioning why Nicki Minaj is showing increased alignment with Trump lately. They remember her previous political controversies, her comment about vaccines, her disagreement with the Biden administration, and her tendency to question mainstream narrative to them. This is another example of Nicki stepping outside the traditional celebrity mode. They see her as an unpredictable, political free, and willing to speak her mind even when it triggers backlash. And that unpredictability is why this conversation is gaining traction. Americans love commentary that involves celebrity taking unexpected stance, and Nicki Minaj supporting a Trump claim checks every box for a viral debate. But beyond the politics and celebrity drama, there is a real human alignment that shouldn't be overlooked. Nigeria does have religious plagued by violence, terrorism, religious clash, and political instability. Families have been displaced, communities have suffered, and while experts debate the root causes, the suffering itself is undeniable. Some Americans feel that Nicki Minaj, intentionally or not, has reignited a conversation that should have been taken seriously a long time ago. They argue that Western media doesn't constantly report on Africa unless the stories fit a political narrative. So, in a strange way, Nicki's comment has forced people to pay attention. Others argue that because she spoke through the lens of Trump's claim, the entire conversation instantly became polarized. Instead of having a meaningful discussion about Nigeria challenges, it turned into a partial battlefield. People are debating the politics, not the actual lives affected, and that is where many Nigerians are experiencing disappointment. They want accuracy, context, and sincerity, not celebrity soundbites or political weaponization. Some Americans even argue that Nicki Minaj's statement has highlighted a deeper issue: the disconnect between black Americans and African politics. Many African Americans don't fully understand the complex dynamics within African countries, and African issues rarely get mainstream education or in-depth media attention in the US. So when a celebrity tries to speak on African issues, the messaging can come off simplified, distorted, or detached from the reality of the ground. That is part of why Americans are divided. They don't know enough to fully support or dismiss the claim, and yet they are reacting emotionally because Nicki Minaj and Donald Trump form an explosive combination. On the other hand, supporters of Nicki Minaj say critics are overreacting. They argue that if Nicki believes Christians in Nigeria are being persecuted, she has every right to say so. They claim she's not pretending to be an expert but simply expressing concern in good faith. To them, the backlash represents a growing culture where celebrities are punished for having opinions that go against mainstream narrative. And then, there's a group of Americans who sees this as typical political theater. They believe both Nicki and Trump know that certain topics, religion, persecution, Africa, will stir emotions and drive engagements. They see the entire situation as a calculated move to remain in political and cultural conversations. Whether that is true or not, the reaction proves one thing: people are paying attention. At the end of the day, this entire situation shows how interconnected social media, politics, celebrity, culture, and global issues have become. A single comment from Nicki Minaj can spark discussion about governance in Nigeria, religious freedom, political manipulation, African election, media biases, and cultural misunderstandings all at the same time. And Americans are reacting from every angle possible. Some supportive, some confused, some angry, some analytical, some religious motivated, and some simply entertained by the chaos. This is not just about Nicki Minaj supporting Trump's claim, it's about the world we live in today, where celebrities influence political discourse, where African issues become American talking points, where information spread faster than context, and where opinions form before facts are even exempt. And in the middle of it all is Nicki Minaj, a global superstar who has once again managed to insert herself into a conversation that has no expected her to be part of, and yet everyone is suddenly talking about.
And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. Alright, lovely. See you when I upload the next video.